Oh, and it looks like something's happening on my iPad over here,
Oh, I thought you were going to
and
say
I
something
can
different.
and I can
Something
see
happening somewhere else.
us. Oh, I can see us. Okay. Awesome. What is going on? You are watching and, of course, listening to Tags Live, aka Talk About Gay Sex, the live edition, where we are here every Wednesday night on the Crowdcast platform. I am your host, Steve V. This is episode 595, y'all, alongside partner in crime, Kodi, Maurice, Doggette. How the hell you doing, Kodi?
Hello, darling. I'm doing wonderful this evening. I'm in my lingerie. No, I'm not. I'm in a tank top.
Plunging
But it
neckline.
looks
We
like
love it.
lingerie. Huh?
Yeah, it looks great.
Thank you, darling.
You always look great.
You always look great.
Oh, please. Thank you. But we want to just first say that for those that were trying to log in last week who didn't get to see us, there was a technical glitch, sadly, with Crowdcast that didn't allow us to go live and live stream. And sadly, we had a special guest, Eleni Cordes, who's going to be talking about, the Azores in the Atlantic and why we should be going there. She also had some great advice, but don't fret because she will be back next Wednesday and we are going to have her on the show. So we're really excited about it because we actually did have a great conversation with her and we
We
didn't
didn't
know
even
that
get to
we
have the
weren't.
topics. We
Yeah,
we had such a great conversation.
we didn't realize that we weren't actually live and not streaming. But now I'm told by Crowdcast this will not happen again, and they are working on it. But I also have my handy dandy iPad right next to us where I'm watching us live on a sneaky back end email. So we're covering our bases this time, and we apologize
Right.
for those that did try and log in, but we think we have this all worked out now with our host company. Like I said, we are live. I am last final days here in Puerto Vallarta, enjoying it. It is hot as a mother,
Love it.
but but I really love it here, and we are getting some things done here, including a mural that I sent to you earlier. A lot of people don't
Gorgeous.
realize that the animal, the jaguar, is indigenous to Puerto Vallarta. They reside in the mountains, and when you go hiking it, sometimes if you're lucky, there have been rare sightings of a jaguar. And who knew that piece of history anyway? I did not know that at all.
I mean,
And
I had a jaguar in my bed in Puerto Vallarta, but that's about
okay,
it.
different kind, but yes.
Different guy.
Exactly. And they're so fierce, ferocious, and beautiful. And that was the inspiration for my sister's mural. And, we kept it in this family here in this condo that we live in. And we've befriended a artist friend of ours who lives a few floors up. And she's an amazing artist. And we collaborated together on this piece. I'm looking at it right now. He's looking at me. It's so great. I will post this on our Patreon page and you will be able to see it. And by the way, you can get all kinds of free content simply by joining their free Patreon page. And you don't even have to grab a tier. If you want to and support Tags, we really appreciate it because we've got some special sexy perks coming your way. But more importantly, you can just keep up with us behind the scenes, and we are dedicated down to posting stuff that you won't get on the show, that you won't get on social media by either any of our hosts. And so we encourage you to go to patreon.com/tags podcast and just grab the free tier because you'll get some cool perks and some behind the scenes shit. So we like all
Love
that
it.
stuff.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
so all good. You're currently in Brooklyn, of course.
Oh
Yes.
yeah. It's hot. I don't know if it's as hot as Puerto Vallarta, but it's hot
Seems like
here.
it.
I'm here with a pup, two pups actually, and we're just chilling. We're having a good time. We are out and about and doing our single thing. So
Love
it's
it.
great.
And again, we're in front of a live virtual audience. I see some familiar faces: Malibu, Bryce, Durand. And as they trickle in, hello, hello, hello. We will keep this open. I'm glad you can see us this week. It's
Right.
105 degrees in Texas. Yeah, see, it's that end of the summer heat that we're all experiencing. And by the way, this time of year, people always want to wrap up summer. It's back to school. And I say, no, we've got another 3 weeks in us, a brat summer. We're not
And
ready
I'm
for
gonna take
demure.
advantage.
Yeah,
I'm
not ready for
always ready
dem.
for a demure. I'm always
Well, you
ready for a
might
demure.
be, but I'm bratting it up for the next 3 weeks,
I'm ready for
and
some brat too. I am.
I love
I
it.
know about balance. It's about balancing brat and demure.
Oh,
So
that's what our mutual friend told us before we went live, that it's possible to actually be both.
oh
And he's going to show
yes.
me. Well, we'll see. I'm not sure he could teach this
I
dog's
love
old.
it.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, well, we've got to get into hot topics. There's so much to talk about. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Happy Hump Day, because Labor Day is coming up, but not for somebody that has been spending his summer behind bars. And, we reported on Austin Wolf, the famed porn star, OnlyFans sensation that many of us were oohing and awing over for years. He's arguably probably one of the most successful in recent history. Wouldn't you argue, porn
Oh yeah.
stars slash content creators for adult content?
Oh yeah, he's so incredibly recognizable. He was at the forefront of OnlyFans. He created just for fans, so he's completely saturated the adult gay film industry.
All that went downhill when earlier in the summer in June, I believe it was the June 28th, when he was arrested for, if you didn't already hear this, if you've been living underneath a rock, we will just quickly update you. When it was found that he had several child pornography in his apartment, as hundreds and hundreds, including some very disturbing content with a 10-year-old being tied up and raped. I hate to say all this, but it's just that, we want you to know some of the truth on this and why we need to fight against this and why it's so bad, reflective on our own community as well. But he, of course, was arrested, and, he was supposed to have a trial date a month later in July 28th. That got pushed back to today, August 28th, when once again it's been pushed back a month, Kodi.
Yeah.
And people are asking why it's been pushed back. Well, if I watch a lot of CNN, and so I now know a lot about these kinds of court case situations. It seems and smells of a plea deal, and what we mean by plea deal is that I think he's probably trying to work out something with his actual lawyers, and the defense is trying to work out, because he's going to potentially be turning in some people that, none of this ever happens by one's own self, right? And
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
we think that it's probably a plea deal. Now, typically with the plea deal, it just simply means that you're not necessarily not guilty anymore, but if you help the federal agencies out, you may get a lesser sentence. It's still, your name is still mud in the eyes of the community, LGBTQ plus community, and at large, for all the damage that you've done. But in a sidebar note, and then I want to hear from you, he was exchanging a lot of this, or at least the one time he did, child pornography on the quote unquote private app Telegram,
Yeah.
which apparently you can send this, you can send private messages. That CEO was just arrested last week, and actually this week, in Paris. And because, not for what he necessarily did, but what his platform is being accused of. Apparently, Austin's not the only one. There's been other people that have been using this private platform, Telegram, to exchange pornography, child pornography. And so I don't know, when you hear about it, his sentencing getting pushed back, what do you think? Do you also agree it's probably a plea deal?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that this is what it is aligning to in my mind, because for it to get pushed back, and then they're saying that there's not really a lot of friction between both uh, uh, the defense and the plaintiff
Prosecutors,
and the
yeah.
defendants. Yes, those things, those law things that I watch on television when I watch Judge Judy. uh, I think that this is indicative of a plea deal. That's what it's looking like. And the fact that you told me that the owner of Telegram was arrested in Paris, that is telling me some other things. Like, this is a whole Interpol thing. This is something that is going to be rampant across the globe, apparently, because they have so many things that so many people that are working in unison as far as taking these people and this child pornography down. What kind of struck me about this whole story was Predator X, Austin Wolf, allegedly, he's Predator X. His defense team said that he was being supported by colleagues and friends and things of that nature. But then the article goes on to say that he is, it has all these testimonials from people that are disowning him and disavowing him because they're saying that, that this is disgusting. And it just kind of struck me as a spin, basically. So we'll see how this turns out. I totally agree with you that this is just the tip of the iceberg. Felix Fox is quoted as saying that the indictments in the industry are coming. So this is something that we need to watch because it looks like there is more coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, we were saying in our meeting earlier today that for them to keep pushing it back, if there was one or two people that they were investigating, because the reason they would take a month here, another month, is because they need to investigate this to see if there is anything there to actually charge. And so the fact that they keep pushing it back means that they probably have people that they are investigating, and people might be a little bit scared coming down the
They need to
pipeline.
be.
Yeah, so we'll see who Austin's dragging along with him. But the real victims, of course, are the children that are actually the ones that
True.
That content is actually out there, and that's what's really sad. And then not to mention what some people were also saying in the threads is that this is what the far right wants to say about us. They've always said that we're predators, that we are taking advantage of children. This is why they say things like they're banning books in schools, is because that we've always had that undercurrent tone of being predators. Not that we are, but that's always been the argument. And so it's like, really, Austin, like, one bad apple shouldn't represent us all, but he was one of the biggest adult content creators out there. And so, of course, we're going to follow this. And of course, everybody else is. And so it's just sad, but true. And it doesn't mean that it's all of us, but, we can't cherry pick what we report on here. It's, we got to call it all out.
True. And I hear what you're saying, but Austin Wolf definitely does not represent me in any form or fashion.
Of course not. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I don't think that anybody should associate his actions with the actions of the gay community, because we don't do that to straight people when they're out there doing what they do, because I can tell you that it is way more prevalent in the straight community than here. Just based on like numbers, there's more of them than there are of us. So of course there are going to be more of them.
Absolutely. Well, let's switch to some good news and a show that you and I and a bunch of us have all been watching for the last 2 seasons. And I'm talking about For the Love of DILFS. It is on what network is it on? Out TV. Yes, it's on Out TV. I actually watched season 2. I skipped season 1. My boyfriend watched season 1. I know. My boyfriend was saying he liked season 1. He even liked it better. But sometimes I skip around, and I'm currently watching Emily in Paris, and I was just going to skip to the current season because everyone's talking about it. And everybody said, no, you have to go from the beginning. I'm like, all right. So I started from season 1. I have a long plane ride on Friday, so I'll catch up on Emily in Paris. But For the Love of DILFS is causing a sensation because its host, Stormy Daniels, has been hosting the show for 2 seasons. She's actually going to host the 3rd season, and she's been nominated for reality show host, the best reality show host by the Reality Series Awards, and that are upcoming. And I just think this is really awesome because I don't think that she even thought that this show was going to be much of it. Her husband also works on the show and the production, and
He's been on screen too.
He's on screen. He's really cute. She calls him her daddy, and I just think they're a great couple. He stood by her through everything that she's been through. For people that don't know what the show is all about, can you tell people in case people want to check it out?
So it is a like a romantic type bachelor type of show where they match daddies with I think they are called twinks. I'm not quite sure what they call them on the show, but they are no himbos is what they call them on the
Himbos,
show.
right?
Yes, and the daddies are not allowed to like date one another, and the himbos are not allowed to date one another. It's strictly about himbos matching with daddies, and they pair up and they do challenges to see who is the most compatible. It's really fun, and it shows about compatibility between people and different generations as well. So it's really interesting, and it's some drama too. So I love this show. I would watch. I can't wait till season 3. And yeah, I
It's
think it's fun.
definitely binge worthy. I voted. You can vote for. I'll post this on Tags Podcast. You can vote for Stormy Daniels too as best host on the upcoming awards, and I think she really deserves it because she's a producer on the show. She said she has been stated as saying that this has become much more personal for her. She loves the community. She's invested in this, and I just think it's a nice curve and rainbow to what she's gone through for the
Yeah.
last several years. And it's nice to see her come out kind of like a winner and an ally to our community. And to your point too, I really like the show too. I was thinking at first it was a little bit contrived to have himbos and daddies paired up, but I don't think the age gap, we were talking about age gap on episode 594 the other day, and I don't know that I think that age gap was really huge. I don't know that this is that huge of an age gap. I feel like the probably one of the oldest was 60 was one of the daddies, but most of
Okay.
them are much younger in their maybe 50s, and the himbos are like in their 30s. I don't feel like that's that much of an age gap. My current relationship, it's not really dad. We're going to talk about daddy a little bit later on the show, being called daddy, what that actually means, but I don't feel like mine's about 11 years difference, and I don't think that that's that big of an age gap. But what's the biggest age gap you would have if you had to think about it?
Wow. I think that I would probably have 10 was my maximum for the longest time. 10 up and 10 down, unless it went underneath 21, because I don't date anybody under
Oh,
21. If
wow,
you
we
can't go
went
to the
through
bar
that
with
with
me,
you, yeah.
if you can't go to the bar with me, then it's not going to happen. It's not going to work
Well,
out if I have to
thank you.
sneak you in. So, yeah, so that's been my rule for the longest time. It's stretched a little bit. I think my last relationship was 11 years too. So I think around that, it really just depends on maturity, but I think around that age. And I'm so happy for Stormy. I adore her. I think she's amazing and likable. And she was painted in such a light back when all that stuff was going down. And I feel like this show and her being herself has really turned it around. So, but the only thing is she's going up against RuPaul. So, RuPaul is the gold standard as far as I'm concerned. So
Okay,
I'm gonna
yeah.
have to put in 2 votes, one for Stormy and one for
Apparently, you
RuPaul.
can vote every day. I'll post this on
Okay.
TAGSPodcast.com. Check it out. I feel like Rue's won every award,
I know, right?
and
She don't need
uh,
this.
and let's give it to Stormy. So that's my vote. I stick by it. Let's move on because there is an article that has caused a little bit of heat with some people. It was written in the New York Times by Mark Harris. Mark Harris also is married to Tony Kushner, famous playwright, Angels in America. Just think
Yeah.
that. The article was about gay men apparently like muscles. And that's not much of a wake up call because I think we always knew that, but it explores the modern Western history of gay eroticism and physical attraction from surreptitious physique magazines. Like, think in from like the 1950s all the way up to Troye Sivan from his music video Rush. And I do agree with a lot of it because he does a really good job of talking about our community's love of muscles throughout the years. Why, when I was growing up, Kodi, and when I'm in my early 20s, all that muscle body look in the 80s and 90s was so present in porn. And then if you moved your way on up to Times Square and Marky Mark and Calvin Klein, it was even more pronounced in our obsession with the male physique. I think what this article does show, or shies away from showing, is that besides us just having that love, many people have always had a love of the male physique. Bodybuilders have always been, I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger
Mhm.
has always been the forefront of the male that has really gotten a lot of heterosexual men to like the human physique and women to
Yeah.
eroticize it and enjoy it as well. And so I think that's where he falls short on this article. And that's what a lot of people were calling him out on. It's that if you move on to modern times, a lot of people in our community today don't care so much about muscles and all that. It's not a huge thing. I mean, some people are into a more thin body or a more
Yeah.
daddy body or a more bare body, and I think that's where he misses the mark. But when you read the article, I'll post this because it's an interesting, we don't have enough time to get into everything that he put out
Oh
there,
yeah.
but it's a really good read, and we want to see if you agree or not agree. But what did you think about it, and do you agree or disagree?
Well, first, I think he just interviewed me and asked me if I like muscles. And I was like, yes, I love muscles. And then he was just like, I'm done. This is my article now. Kodi is the gold standard. And now everybody loves muscles. Anyway, but okay. So, all jokes aside, I.
Yes, get to your point, bitch.
I really think that I agree with there was something that really struck me in the article, and it was saying that muscles was used in for gay men as a way to blend in and adapt. And I totally can see that. Me personally, it's been something that I have used in my life to not necessarily to blend in with straight, quote unquote, straight society and make
Really?
myself. Oh yeah, for sure, because it's muscles have made me more, quote unquote, masculine and passing. I mean, the crop top is a dead giveaway, but that besides the point, I think the muscles are really, quote unquote, protecting me from that vengeful, or that eye that is going to point me out in a crowd and say, oh, look at this queer man. Because and it's something that has allowed me to navigate straight spaces in a way that may not be afforded to other people. So I think that that has really served me. At the very least, the muscles uh have made me not that big of a target out there in the world. So I think that that
That's
he
where he
really
has a
had
point then to you.
he exactly, that's where he really has a point as far as this article is concerned. Where I think he misses the mark is not only, like you said, is are there so many body types out there, and the gay community is not a monolith. There are people out there that wouldn't give me a second look because they like bare bodies, or they like thinner guys, or any number of things. And somewhere else that I feel like he misses the mark is he there's a line in there where he says that gay white men were they wrote the book on fashion and things of that nature. They set that standard for aesthetics in that time period. And I think that that's kind of invalidating a lot of what was popular and what was driving culture in during that time. So it that right there kind of struck me in a wrong way as well.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Where I differ from you is I came from being an athlete myself. And I've talked about it before. I was a gymnast from, 5 years old all the way into college. And it really developed my body in a certain way. We all know gymnast bodies. And
Yeah.
I definitely got that. And for me, going into weight training was really the next progression after training in gymnastics for so long that it was just a natural progression. So I started training actually with a female, was my
Oh
first
wow.
workout partner at UC Berkeley, Noelle, and she taught me. She already knew I had some basics, but she really taught me bodybuilding. And I didn't get into it because I wanted to look a certain way or I was emulating. It was really, I was so indoctrinated into the physical form that I needed an outlet. I was no longer going to be doing gymnastics anymore, and I needed to
Okay.
use this energy that I had, this strength that I had developed in a different way. And I just became really into, and then I started to see, oh, and there's porn and all this other kind of things that are supporting all this. But it really came from just my years and years and years of a different sport that just naturally, and I still, that's why I watched the Olympics. So, I had my eye on it all summer long because I just knew this is what I love, the physique, and it's not a I'm trying to fit in. It's really just because I feel like I'm a former athlete. So,
Yeah.
but
So you
yeah,
came about
welcome.
it at a natural progression, which I think is so interesting. For me, when I first started out working out, I worked out with my uncle, and I think it was to butch me up because I was feminine as a child. So it's really interesting to hear how people come to where to to their final point, or where they're at in their lives. So people's past in life, it's so interesting. So thank you for
Exactly.
sharing. And
Yeah, absolutely.
I watched the Olympics for a different reason than you.
Oh, believe me, I had my
For the
eye on
pole
some of the
vaulters.
same things as well, the same French pole vaulter as well. So, yeah, I'm not that same young kid anymore either. So, we're going to continue this conversation on next week's episode where we have
Oh,
another topic
cool.
related to gym culture. Yeah, Cody, we're going to move on to a different topic because there
Okay.
was actually an interesting study that says that single queer adults over 50 are twice as likely to stay single for life. But they asked the question, is that such a bad thing? Well, this was actually done by Sage. If you know anything about Sage, they are the advocacy organization that looks out for LGBTQ plus elders. We actually had a representative of Sage on our other show, Of a Certain Age, that you can listen to, Of a Certain Age podcast. And they were talking about so much about Sage, but this came from them. Moreover, a 2023 Pew Research Center study points out that roughly 62% of adult gay men of any age identify as single, and 55 excuse me. And so I think with this information, it's not saying that it's not impossible, but it also points to the fact that being single for a lifetime isn't always such a bad thing. I mean, many people don't want to be in relationships. Maybe they've been in relationships and their partners have passed away. And a lot of us live happy lives. I mean, I feel like, Cody, I was the other end of the spectrum because I didn't meet my boyfriend until I was 53, and or actually 52. And so I kind of went the other spectrum of meeting them in my 50s, but I was happy single for so long before, and I wasn't even really looking for somebody. I had moments where I was going on dates and I put it out there, but certainly wasn't obsessed with it. I have my own routine, and I was just in a conversation with two women earlier today where, while they both admit that they are of a certain age, like myself, meaning
Hmm.
beyond 50, but they all agreed too that no to marriage, absolutely no to marriage,
Oh,
not looking for marriage, but wouldn't mind somebody to enjoy free time with and enjoy, doing fun things with, but that they are living very happy lives and they don't really want somebody in their space. One of them was an artist, and she doesn't want somebody mucking up her artist lifestyle, and she's very successful with it. And so
she
I
wants to
get
live
it
free.
too. What do you think when you hear about this study? Is it so dour, or is it a realistic approach to, at a certain point, you might not be looking for that end all be all, like we walked into the sunset for life?
Well, the article told me I need to lock it down because my biological clock is ticking like this. Marissa
Child
Tomei
God.
and my cousin Vinny.
But you should look at your co-host who found somebody
True.
beyond 50 and is
You
very
know what?
happy.
I think it's never too late. That's the romantic in me. So I don't think that this is something that really will affect my life that much because I know that if there's somebody out there for me, then I'll be able to find them and we will align, and it's all going to work out in the end. And if it doesn't work out, then it's not the end. So What I found really interesting, because my main takeaway was the quote that said, "Our relationships don't have to look like heteronormative relationships," because look how that model has worked for them in life, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. Look, more
Like you
straight.
said, the rates of divorce,
I
correct?
was going to say the
Yeah.
rates of divorce uh, are much higher in the straight community than they are in the gay community. And I think that polyamory is on the rise, open relationships are on the rise, living separate like Carrie and Big used to do back in the day. That's on the rise. And I think that people are starting to realize that you don't have to fit into this cookie cutter mold of one specific type of relationship. You have to make your relationship for yourself. And I think not everybody is built for monogamy. I mean, I think I am personally, but not everybody is built for that because it takes a certain type of person in order to live that certain type of life. So find what works for you. Look at yourself and your life and your relationship and your partner because they're in this relationship as well, and then move from there and do what's comfortable for you. And maybe you guys aren't meant to be together if you're not aligned on what type of relationship you want to have, but maybe you are.
One of the things the article does a good job is talking about our chosen family that many of us have really developed over the years. And it's our chosen family that will often look out for us as we get older and really take care of us. And that's really important to have that chosen family. And then the other thing I think that we should all consider is that companionship is what a lot of us really just are looking for. Companionship to just spend an evening with, companionship to shared like common interests with, that I think is so beautiful. And I think that might have not made it into the study and to the percentages that we have just been quoting you, but that sometimes people just want that. And that speaks volumes. And that also, along with your chosen family, your friends, and your people that you choose to surround yourself, can be really beautiful and fulfilling. And those are the people that can actually look out for you as you age and take care of you if you need to be taken care of when you are older. So these are things that there's some nuances that the article does point out. It's a really good, we're doing all the articles today that have some nuances, and we will post this again.
We love them.
Yeah, reference episode 595, and it's a good read. It also talks about people of color as well that we don't have time to get into right now, but
Can I say one more thing?
yeah, please.
So I think that you hit the nail on the head with the companionship thing because I feel like your needs, one person can't meet all of your needs in life. I'm sorry, that's a fact. That's something that
Yes.
no one person is capable of fulfilling every single need that you have as a human being. So it's up to you to lean on your tribe and who you are, and really source where you're getting your needs met from. So I think that that's a great thing that you pointed out. Intimacy can come from many different sources. Companionship can come from many different sources. And I think that the more that you explore all of that, the better off you'll be.
Love it. Yeah. And let's move on to another discussion that was a quote that you sent me. So, a lot of times Kodi will be like, this would be an interesting topic to discuss on the show. And it turns out it was because we were both struck by it. And it
Oh yeah.
came from Brian Sputnik. He is a what is he, Kodi? Social worker, right?
Yes. Yep. Social worker. I can look it up again, but I
Okay, well, that's
forgot
okay. But
already.
and it came from social media, but it was such an interesting quote that we thought we should discuss it. And you quote, "You're gay and you can't fuck unless you're fucked up because body dysmorphia, rampant in gay male culture, keeps you feeling too big, too small, too skinny, not skinny enough, and drugs and alcohol help you suppress your disordered thinkings." Uh, Basically, I think what he was trying to say in this quote is that when you can only really fuck when you're somehow intoxicated under the influence, I can certainly have relate to that over the years where I have gone out to cruise bars and I've had cocktails in me and that loosened me up. And then I was able to have like great
Ooh,
sex.
did it?
But when I've in the past been in relationships, maybe we didn't have sex as much when we were together, but it was more under the influence because that's, and he points to things like feelings like essentially I think what he's saying, what she's not saying in this quote, but he's alluding to the fact that gay queer men in general, or queer men in general, if you haven't done your work on yourself, if you haven't really looked at your history and how you grew up and the things that may have affected you over the years that you are affecting your relationships. Many of us queer men have not dealt with our past and our relationships, like with our parents, and our relationships with just being gay and what that actually looks like and means, and how the trauma could mean things like we've been bullied in the past, or we've had things been told that we were sissy or the F word, dare I say. And those effects, if you've never dealt with them, can often be brought into our adult lives and our relationships. And so that can then, of course, be played out in our sex lives as well. And so that comment I can relate to in years past. But I've also and continue to do work on myself. And even in the relationship I am, we'll have sex after a night out of fun, but we were recently away. And I just told the story on episode 594 where we were under the stars in the camper on an Airstream. And we were not as intoxicated as we've been on other nights, and we had great sex too. And so there has to be a balance, I think. But when you hear this quote and you sent it to me, what were some things that resonated with you about what he was trying to say about our community of queer men and sex?
Oh yeah, when I saw this, I had to send it to you immediately because I was like, this is going to be such an interesting conversation for us to have, especially because I've known and I've been one of the people that use alcohol to numb themselves in order to have sex. I think mainly because I was dealing with a lot of shame around sex. Maybe it was my Catholic upbringing. Who knows? Maybe it was society inundating me with all those negative stereotypes of gay men, but it was something that would kind of hinder me when I would go to have sex, or I would feel a little bit of shame, and or any number of things. So I feel like drinking kind of made me feel freer and looser, like you said, in more way than one. And I was kind of down for anything, and I think that can lead to some issues, and it can lead to some things that you don't necessarily want to do in your life. So I think that is where you have to recognize that this is where the line needs to be drawn, because alcohol, it can be used in moderation and it can be used to enhance a situation, but it should I feel like it should not be used to numb feelings that you should be dealing with. And if you are doing this, and I implore you to go see somebody and talk about your feelings and really get a hold of what is making you feel this way.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting too about it all comes down to balance too. Like if you're look at we all have to look at our lives and how are you having sex, how we're using sex. We have to always ask the question, how much porn are we watching? If that matters to us, you can watch as much as you want, Kodi. Don't give me that
right?
look. But no,
I totally gave you a look. I was like,
no, I do a checklist I do a checklist on myself all the time, and doesn't mean I'm implementing strategies all the time. And yes, your cleavage looks great, Kodi, and I know you're obsessed with it. Focus on the conversation. But I think that it's really, you got to do kind of a checklist of yourself. Balance, I think, is really the key for a lot of this. Are you balancing the time that you have sex outside of alcohol? We've talked a lot about on this show, are you having like couples that maybe are not having sex or prioritizing sex? And so I just think you have to do a checklist all the time. Interesting sidebar, because there was a show, somebody was telling me to watch this show, Couples Therapy on Paramount Plus and Showtime. And we were talking about Bennifer, J-Lo, my sister and I,
Who
and Ben
knows?
Affleck, and how it didn't work, and how she's been married so many times, and they didn't have a prenup, and it just seemed like they went into this willy-nilly. And I know, crazy, right?
What?
But I think when you try and see a therapist, back to the therapy, when things are already on the down low, when they're already like bad. I had couples therapy in one of my earlier relationships, but we were already not doing so great. I think it would be healthy for relationships to seek it when you're on the up and up. And actually, it could be a really good thing. Most people, think, seek therapy when the relationship is already almost over. And then they want this therapist to do all this work, and there's really no hope. It's too late. And you know what I'm saying? It's a sinking
Yeah.
ship already. And here you're trying to get this one therapist that you barely just met to solve all of the problems and make it work. And I think, and I might do this, it's like seek therapy earlier on when things are good. It's the same thing with physical therapy too, and with workouts. You want to, or massage, you don't want to go to the masseur or the chiropractor when your neck is kinked and out of sorts. You want to go to them regularly to keep you oiled up like a nice oiled machine.
Ooh, oiled
Take
up.
that
I
into
love
your,
that.
yeah, exactly. So anyways,
um,
interesting. Yeah.
Oh, so I totally agree with you. And therapy really just gives you the tools to deal with your relationship and any problems or issues that could arise from your problems. So it's not really there to fix everything. It's there to let you do the work in order to fix the issues that you're having in your relationship. So I agree with you that you should go earlier and as
When
soon as
things are good,
possible.
right?
Yeah, because then you can uh learn what works for
Tools,
you,
like you said.
the tools in order to make your relationship the healthiest as it can be. So and that's really the goal, right? So
Yes. I
I
love
agree
it.
with you.
Okay, well, let's talk about somebody that we really love, Joel Kim Booster, actor Joel Kim Booster, comedian Joel Kim Booster, who was recently talking on a podcast about going full frontal in a sauna scene for Industry, the show Industry. This was on Netflix, the show, and this is what he had to say. We'll discuss in a second and relate it to our own lives. But he says, I didn't think about it at all when I initially said yes. It was an exciting opportunity to do something really different. And as I famously said in my Netflix special, Psychosexual, my nudes are out there. If you want to see me naked, it's readily available. You know the correct search terms and dark web websites to visit. As I continue to this day to send out my naked pictures of myself to random strangers frequently. So it didn't seem like that big of a deal at first to do it. All of my nudes that have leaked online previously, it is my hard penis, okay? With a flaccid penis in this sauna scene for this series, there's a lot of variables at play. We all know what he's talking about, right? It can look a lot different. Stress is a big factor. He said he woke up and he was like, I cannot think about this because the more I think about this, the more I'll spiral. And then you lose control of what's going on down there. He said it's hard to have any sort of objectivity about how you look, but I'm not displeased with how the scene turned out. One of the hardest things to do is look hot naked while sitting. We all know that. And it's been a
Right?
long-standing fitness goal of mine to look good without my shirt on while I'm sitting. It is such a difficult thing to achieve. That was a much bigger concern of mine than being full frontal. Oh my God. We love Joel Kim Booster because he speaks the truth of what we all think. I mean, you just to bring it back home here, you've been fiddling around with your cleavage there, trying to look a certain way on this live podcast the
I
whole
mean,
night.
I'm trying to get us more viewers, honey. Okay.
Okay, well, that I cannot argue with. So keep doing fiddling with that cleavage and those
Thank you,
TTs
darling.
because they are serving it.
Thank
And
you, darling. Come
I
watch the
think
titties on live, honeys. Okay.
But well, Joel Kim Booster, we've been talking a lot about body image, about articles that have come out, and he's really saying what we all think about, what many of us, all women, gay, queer people, we all want to look good. We all want to look the best we can look. Oftentimes we have to take pictures. In his case, he had to be nude in a scene. And I think I would be the same way too. It's like, people have tried to take pictures of me when I'm sitting down too, and that's a whole different thing. I would be more concerned about that than I would be about my dick.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't really care so much about my dick being out there because I have an OnlyFans just for fans. I say it every episode. You can go to my @TAGSPodcast. You can get a preview of all of it. It's all up there, neatly packaged for you to just digest. And if you want more, you can go to those links that are on that page. And I just think that, yeah, he's just speaking the truth as a modern day American queer actor. What do you think
That's
about
right.
what he put out there?
Oh, I totally agree with him. When he said you can go look for my nudes on the internet, I said you can go look for mine too because they are out there, and I know that they're kind of difficult. I hid them really kind of well, but they're not that difficult to find, honestly. And if you're on Grinder and you ask me for one, I send them out like it's nothing. Like I'm giving away
Like
a Tic Tac, a
flapjacks.
piece of gum. Exactly. It's I hand it out. I know that if I ever got super, super famous, my dick would be everywhere basically because it's I've given them out way too often. I also would be very concerned if I was sitting down because I don't know, I'm in shape, but I got this little pudge, and I feel like a lot of people have that. So I think that is the most difficult thing as far as making sure that you're attractive on screen, especially when you're sitting down. So I agree with him on everything. He's a great actor. I love him on Loot. I can't wait to see this show. And yeah, call me Joachim Booster.
Love it. Love it. We love him. And thanks for your honesty. And yes, I totally agree. Okay. Well, recently, gay guys were sharing stories about the first time someone called them daddy. We were talking about this earlier. And how did it actually make them feel? Well, just to give you a little bit of daddy, I mean, daddy has actually had a history of people being called daddy. And it's actually really been associated with positivity, I think. It's been a cheeky term. It's in the 17th century, according to Otto Straddle. It was actually a positive thing. Queer people probably started appropriating the term in the 30s and 40s,
Oh,
sometimes to indicate dominance, as the Oxford Dictionary explained. And for the period of the World War II, daddy started to take on more of a dominant connotation with the emergence of the leather culture. And while the word is definitely mainstream, some Redditors say they're uncomfortable with the label. And so, when asked, how do some people feel? For a large segment of the gay community, there's a major interest right now in older men and daddies. We just talked about For the Love of DILFS, right? And it makes sense on the apps. A lot of people are using it. But like I said, not everybody was really here for it. Quote, it really is a mindset, an energy, a vibe, said one astute Redditor. Straddling the line between comforting and intense desire has nothing to do with the looks, to be honest. Others agreed. Some have said, I like your description of comforting and intense. Very accurate. With that in mind, others were not. Said when they heard it the first time, they were like annoyed. They didn't like it, made them feel like just old, and it did not
hmm,
resonate that well. I don't know. I think, Kodi, when I first was told daddy was in bed after somebody
okay.
that I'd brought home from the New York Eagle, and he called me daddy, and I was like, oh, and, but you didn't hear that, but that's what was my internal mindset saying. And I was like, have I become that? And then at one point, but then I was like, you know what? But I knew he meant it in a really like positive, sexy way. Like I was a hot daddy to him.
Yeah.
And I've since played with the term and I don't mind it now because I just think it's a mindset. And
Yeah.
let's not take all this too seriously, to quote our other co host, Jeremy. But what do you think of the term daddy? What was your first initial thoughts when you may have been called daddy, dare I
Oh,
say? Let's not go there.
Never. I've never been called daddy. I'm just a small little twink over here. No,
Hmm.
not really. I've been called daddy a lot, actually. Especially, I think it started kind of when I was in my mid 30s when I started to get daddy a lot. And
Wow.
I people in my family, they gray a little bit earlier, so I think that uh
Oh yeah, no gray
accelerated
over
things.
here.
Oh, okay, all right,
You
get
can
it.
get rid of that.
I mean, I dyed my beard now too, honey. Okay. But yeah, so I think I've been getting that for a little while now. And the first time I heard it, it took me by surprise. I will admit that it took me by surprise. But again, it's about reframing things and not necessarily taking things too seriously because 9 times out of 10, if you're flirting with somebody and they call you daddy, then they're doing it to compliment you. So if you take it as a compliment and don't necessarily read negativity into it, then that will only enhance the experience that you're going to have. So I take it, I think daddy is more of a mind frame, a mindset than an actual age. So,
Absolutely. If you're being
and that's
told in
how,
your 30s, then it's a good thing. And
and I
if
look 20. So
And if they're telling you after you had an amazing fuck or they flirted with you at the club, it's a good thing.
it is a
So,
good thing.
it's all context. You also have to keep up with references. I feel everybody should keep up with references of today, even if you're not going to use some of them. I know we talked about Brat Summer, Demure apparently is on the horizon. I just think
Hmm.
we try and put these things out on the podcast, not because we necessarily want you to adopt all of these things, but you should be aware of them. And the more you're aware of them and know that in general, people are using the word daddy as a flirtation thing, it's part of our queer culture for the last several years. And the more you know, the more you won't take offense to it. You'll just know, oh, that's that thing that's happening in queer culture, and you won't get so offended,
Yeah.
and it'll just be a fun thing. I mean,
Let me ask you.
you'll know when somebody is using it against you, that
Yeah.
yeah.
They won't call you daddy. How does it
Yeah.
make you feel to be called daddy now, though?
Now, great, absolutely, because I'm in my 50s now. I'm very happy right now, and I just think absolutely. Earlier on, I was kind of when I turned 50, because that's always like a little turning point in a lot of people's lives. I was a
Hmm.
little bit more sensitive to it, and I was like, "Do I look like a daddy? What does that even mean? Aren't daddies supposed to be gray, bald, and that could be fine too?" And I
Yeah,
felt like I didn't fit that bill. But depending how young
I'm
the
gray and
person
bald.
is, well, I'm just saying, yeah. So
Yeah.
now I know it's a term of endearment and it's fun, and I am of a certain age. I own it. We have a show called Of a Certain Age. I certainly own it in that. You won't see any gray hair on me for any time soon, but
Me
sorry,
either,
not,
honey.
nope, not happening. Nope, nope,
Thank you,
nope.
Clairol.
Yeah, nope, nope, nope. Not telling my secrets, but that I am definitely telling no. And yeah, because I think that does age you. And I have a full head of hair, and and yeah, truth be told, I have like sparse grays here and there, and it's like it's not enough to go. It's like somebody once told me you should. One of our co-hosts told me you should really. I think you would. I'm like, you do it, bitch. I'm not. Mm-mm. And I don't have enough. There's not enough there to let it. So it's like it's
Yeah,
just so I just get rid of
not
those.
me.
Yeah.
You're
So
lucky because if I let this go, I look like Santa Claus, honey. So, ho
not
ho
Santa
ho.
Claus. Let's stay on age because we love to give advice on this show. And it was a recent Redditor, and I love this one. I can't wait to give some advice because they said, too old at 77? Should I give up sex? I'm 77 now, but have been sexually active until recently, but I can still boast a large and hard erection. Maybe it's fucking twinks that keeps me young. So, how do you feel about sex with a guy my age? I think I feel great about sex with a guy his age. If he can get it hard and he still wants to be in the game, good for him. Don't age is really Aaliyah is ain't nothing but a number. And
Mm,
yeah, it's I mean, again, back to age here. I don't feel 53. Um, I don't know what I feel. I just feel young, youthful, and I'm keeping it going. But I do a lot of things. I try and eat healthy. I drink, though. I go to the
Mhm.
gym a lot. I walk a lot. And I don't know. But to me, this is empowering to hear at 77. He wants to keep going. What advice would you give to him?
I think that at any age, if you have that desire and you have that drive, go for it. There's somebody out there that wants you, no matter how old you are, no matter what you have going on. There's somebody out there that wants to have sex with you, and they will enjoy it, and they will praise you afterwards. So go out there, find that person. There is a lot of sex going on in the old folks' home, so you better go out there and do your thing. Okay. Don't be scared, no matter what age you are.
I bet that 77-year-old daddy dick is good.
He can
And
get it hard too.
I could already tell it's like it's good dick. And he
No
just wants to
Viagra, honey.
yeah, yeah, he didn't mention that. And
He
not that
didn't
there's
say a
anything
word.
wrong with that. I'm here for it.
See, and somebody in the comments is already like, let's go.
Okay, Malibu.
So,
Yeah, yeah,
uh-huh.
absolutely. Let's keep it going to one of our favorite final segments. And I put it for you guys watching us live right now. It's produced by Straight Up Gay Porn. It's called Thirst Trap, meaning out of 12 gay porn stars, who took the best photo? There's some good ones this week,
Oh,
actually. And it's
yes.
our job on a audio podcast, because this show gets repackaged, to vividly describe why we chose the one we did. And please vote on this because it keeps the segment going. It keeps Straight Up Gay Porn producing this. Did you have one you wanted to go for right away, Kodi?
I mean, I took a peek at them earlier, so I I have my top three and I have my top one, so I can go with Damian Liu today. It looks
Okay.
like he's in a bathroom. He is gorgeous. He has dark jet black hair. He's completely naked, so and he has on a necklace and a watch, and he's just standing there. He's just so gorgeous. He takes a dick so well because I went to his Twitter and it looks like he's in a bathroom. There's not a whole lot to it. He's just really hot in the picture. He's muscly. He's got a big chest. He's got a gorgeous face. He's got a fat dick, and I know he can take a dick. So he's my
His
pick for the
body
week.
reminds me of yours a little bit. Not
Oh.
the dick part, but because I don't really know, but but
You see
yeah,
my
it's
dick.
nice.
We went to the gay beach together.
Good
But thank
description
you
of
for that compliment, darling.
yeah. There's some really good ones on this. For example, Peter Excalibur, which I love that name, is
Right?
speaking of Joel Kim Booster, is sitting. And we all know, as you heard, how hard it is to sit and look a certain way. He is tight and right. And his dick is just nicely huge and curving upwards, which is ready to
Mm-hmm.
go. And he has like the right amount of hair on his legs and his chest that I think is appropriate. I will
Oh,
use that word, appropriate. Drake Vaughn, Jaden Marcos, and Zane Walker are looking super delicious, standing side by side. Come hither, ready to go with their huge hard-ons, and they are just asking you to jump into it and just worship
oh
their
yeah.
beautiful dicks. I'm like,
They
oh
look
my
like they want to
goodness.
do a gangbang.
They do. Alex Rosso, though, gets my pick, I think, because he's sitting back with his legs open, his hole ready to go, and
Look
his
at
legs
you,
are
Mr.
spread
Top.
open. Yeah. And he is like, he just got fucked, and he's got a backward baseball cap on, which we were just talking about on last week's show with Jeremy Ross Lopez. He's rocking this backward baseball cap, which we said we really like. He's got a nose ring that's really cute, a great goatee, and the cum is like thick and oozing outside of his super huge, thick cock. You know, that kind of thick
Oh
cum.
yeah,
And his hole is present, and
I
he
know.
gets my point. I'm voting for him right now, Alex Rosso. What were you going to say?
I said I know that very well. That comes. So I've had it. I've tasted it plenty of times. Stuff.
Okay. Oh, and he's number. I just voted, and he's number one.
Yeah, Damian Lewis number
And
3.
Peter Excalibur's number 2.
I know, so we have such good taste. Look at that.
Normally I don't. I mean, normally I have good taste, but normally I'm not usually at the top. But I can't believe I'm in the top 2.
I mean, things change now, honey. So you're top now, honey.
Bryce says Alex Rosso for me. Okay, thank you so much. Absolutely. These are some good ones. Well, oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Continue to vote. Tell us who you like. Weigh in on some of these hot topics because we got into it tonight. You know, you can always follow my co-host, Kodi Maurice Doggette, on Instagram. Follow him at Mr. Maurice on Instagram. He's got a brand new single, Talk About It. Not brand new, but it's been out. But the music video that I shot and directed and edited while I've been here in Mexico is done. But of course, we need Kodi's approval, and he'll decide when it's going to come out. But I think you're going to be happy, Kodi.
I can't wait.
I know. We had so much fun shooting it, and I had fun editing it as well. So super cool. You can follow me on the gram. I am _Steve V. Follow my Twitter account. Like I said, you get a preview of my Just for Fans or Only Fans. Go to @TAGSPodcast. @TAGSPodcast. I've been filming some fun solo work here in Puerto Vallarta, having a good old time over here. But more to come when I get back to New York, the Big Apple. And of course, grab a free tier or a tier and support Tags Podcast. You'll get back behind the scenes content and so much more. Go to patreon.com/Tags Podcast. And Kodi, lovely and amazing. And in the meantime, thank you, virtual audience, for weighing in. Continue having hot, gay sex.
Sex.
Thanks.